Good evening, everybody. Welcome again to our Thursday night sessions. Tonight, we've got a group of speakers that are going to do a little quick presentation for us. We'll go over the agenda real quick. Greg Height's joining us tonight. We've had a very small percentage of people asking where the stuff is stored on NILOA's site, and also some may have been having troubles with links to the broadcast recordings. So Greg's going to talk quickly about that. We're going to talk face-offs again. All right. This will be our third or fourth time talking about face-offs. I think it's the fourth time. Tommy's going to cover some more issues and really what the protocol is for the face-offs, which hasn't changed in the last 3 weeks since Mark McInnes's presentation. He's also going to talk about the crease issues. Again, we talked about that a little bit last week. It's always good to talk some more about that. And then we're going to finalize the evening with, so you want to be a referee and or you want to be the R, and it's going to be a Walt Munsey presenting that. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Greg Height, and Greg's going to walk through some screens with us and show us where stuff is housed on our website. So Charlie, if you could make Greg the presenter, that'd be great.
All righty. Are we seeing the NILOA website?
Yes, we are.
All right, gentlemen, I've been trying to make sure that this website is a little more up to date and it's got content that we can really use. I just want to give you a little quick tour and talk about some information that we've got up there. I'm going to be putting posts under here, this latest news, so that if there's information that's coming out, you can find it here. I kind of want it to be, one of many places that we can find information. I've got a troubleshooting GoToMeeting. A number of members have had issues accessing some of the recorded training clips that we've got. I want to make sure that everything's up to date. Those recordings don't come down until we actually say they're going to come down. So if we say they're going to be up for a week, they're going to be up for a week. We extended it for 2 weeks, they're up for 2 weeks. It's really important that you update your operating system and you have the most recent browser to access these things. I've watched these on my phone, iPad, work computer, home computer, all over the place, and have not had a problem. So it may well be that you've got to update your operating system, or you've got an old iPad. It's just not going to work. If you have problems, you're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I can talk you through some stuff. But this post should give you all that information. We've got the new NILOA store information is up there. You saw that email from Kevin that went out. You're more than welcome to come here and see what's going on. My internet's being a little slow today. Here we go. And if district governors or assistant governors have information they want me to put up on that on their particular District 5, District 3 sites, I'm more than happy to do any of that stuff. The big thing is I've sort of consolidated a lot of stuff under the Documents Hub. So all the COVID protocol stuff, all of that information is right in here, and you can check that stuff out. I've got all the financial regulations updated. If there's information that you're looking for and you can't find it, shoot me an email and let me know. It's gregoryheight@gmail.com. I'd be happy to talk to the board and see if they're okay with it going up, and or if you can't find it, I can just point you in the right direction. But this is the information that we really want you to have. And if you see something that's wrong with it, shoot me an email and let me know, and I can make sure that we get it fixed. I might have to call somebody else, but I will definitely stay on it until it gets done. But that's really the only thing that I've got. The biggest thing is this has to be useful for us as members, and unless we know what you guys want, we're not going to see what's up there. So let me know what information you guys need, and we'll go from there. I apologize, my wireless is a little slow tonight. And pictures, guys, send me pictures. If you have pictures of you guys doing games, of you guys doing training events, let me know and I can put that stuff up there on the website. I want to keep the content fresh and keep it ready for all of us. So that's pretty much all I got.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it for the quick overview, and thank you for your work that you've been doing on the website. It's definitely got a different appearance, and we do appreciate that. If you can flip it back to me a second. Or I can just take it.
Oh, you got
it. Okay. All right, Tommy's back on. Bear with me a second. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to Tommy with the face-off stuff. Tommy, you can take it.
Thanks, Tommy. Fellas, we're just going to do the Reader's Digest version for these next couple things that we're going to talk about. I know that I'm tired talking face-off, but I think it's important that we get it straight. It's what the committee has asked us to do for this year, and it's important. I gave you the Reader's Digest version last week. I'll do it again now. What you see in front of you is part of Mark's presentation from a couple of weeks ago. The single official is still the guy in charge of the face-off. And basically all of our stuff is the same as we've previously done, except we're not touching sticks and the ball will be on the ground first. So essentially what we're looking for is when a goal is scored, ball comes up to midfield, you put the ball on the ground, you back away, you wait till the players are ready, till the music stops, till whatever else is going on. You command the players down. When they go down, they need to be correct when they get there. Some coaches have asked me, how come we're getting violations because they're before the word set? We shouldn't be getting those. They obviously haven't read the rules changes. Players have to go down. They have to immediately be in the position that they're supposed to be in. We're going to talk about the helper in just a second here, but essentially the single, when he says down, players come down. He then is going to step back in and look from above, look down over those players at the ball. If you can't see the ball, it means somebody's in the neutral zone or somebody's leaning in. Violate them immediately. Do not give them any chances. They know what they have to do. Violate them. That's what the committee wants. If you're happy with the way they look, stay set, back away and blow your whistle. This whole process should take about 5 to 8 seconds. The committee is happy with the way the face-off has gone. It's creating lots of good ground balls, a lot of transition. Players gain possession for a short period of time and may lose it because they're being pressured. It's brought a lot back into the game that the committee was looking for. They just want to do it quicker, and they want to make sure that we're doing the right things. COVID does not allow us to touch crosses or players or helmets or bend down in there. If you're going to be seen, make sure your mask is up. Okay, that's basically it. The helper is going to help basically by standing a little closer to midfield. He's going to look in. He's going to speak only if he needs to. He's primarily going to focus on the backhand of the player that's facing him. He's going to look at the neutral zone, and if there's any violations, he'll call them at that point. Make sure you're still out quickly so you can cover your end line. Okay, we're going to move on to crease. A lot of discussion since last week. The NCAA will have their training video number 2 out probably tomorrow. We reviewed that today. Jay Fitzwater and Zimmerman have, Coach Zimmerman have those out there now. We're going to release it to Arbiter. It'll probably be up tomorrow morning. Coaches will see it. They're going to understand everything that we talked about last week. But again, Reader's Digest version. The offensive player in possession of the ball, driving to the cage, can't be in the goal mouth at any time during that play. If he's in the goal mouth, the goal can't be scored. There's a possibility he's going to get hit a lot harder than before. We've seen that. We talked about it last week. If the offensive players know that this is the rule, that they cannot score if they're in the goal mouth, they will be looking for ways to get out, like driving your car, a way to get out. That's what they're going to try to have to do. Driving from goal line extended is going to be an issue for some of these guys. They're not going to be able to make it without getting crushed from behind. The second part of this deal is contact by the defender. Most of what we've seen on film clips are illegal hits to the back, and a lot of them are late. So the issue is this: make sure we penalize those players who take advantage of this rule and penalize them to the maximum. Give them more than a push. Give them more than a minute. Give them 2 minutes. Lock them in. They cannot be allowed to hit an offensive player in that vulnerable position. Think of this as a sideline play. If there's a play on the sideline and the ball goes out of bounds and we blow the whistle to stop play, if there's a push, we kind of let it go. Technical foul of some sort, we have a tendency to let those go. I'm not saying that's right, but we have a tendency to do that. But if it's a personal foul and it's late, and it's clearly late, we take it. I want you to take those plays. If an offensive player gets hit late, you have the right to call it a dead ball foul and count that goal. That is clearly a dead ball play. In most cases, these offensive guys are going to figure it out and land only in the crease, in which case the goal counts. But if they land in the goal mouth, it cannot count unless you determine that it's really, really late and you can call it a dead ball foul. In that case, there's no face-off and there should be a multiple minute foul. So the committee has mandated these two things. Offensive guy can't be in the goal mouth. The defensive guys need to be penalized more when they hit them. So please do that. Call it the way they want it. And I think we'll be able to clean this up pretty well. Tommy, I'll go back to you now. Yep.
Thanks, Tommy. Hey, one quick addition that I have is, we talk a lot about, on Thursday nights, we talk about some new information that comes out each week. It's very important that, you either attend live, which I encourage, or make sure you're viewing recordings before your next game. So, you got tonight, you got tomorrow, you got Saturday morning most of the time. But it's important because there's some new information that comes out each week. And we really need to make sure that the recordings are viewed if you're not viewing it live prior to your next game. So that's all I got to say about that. Charlie, I'm going to go back to you. I guess we'll turn it over to Walt and we'll go on from there.
Let's hang up before you do that. So.
Charlie, are we good to go?
Good to go, Walt. All right.
Charlie, can you hear me? You guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. We're good to go, Walt.
Great. Okay. Something happened internally with my webcam, but I'm alive. I'm sure that a lot of you guys wanted to hear about the R, but you also wanted to know if I'm alive. So I'm sorry about not showing a picture. But I'm opening on time in Vero Beach. It's better than being in Syracuse trying to break up ice dams with Tom Abbott. So here we go. My first question is, why do you want to be an R? That's the first question. But in thinking about the topic here, role and responsibilities, I kind of combined some ideas about what are the major qualities of a successful R, and then hopefully some things along the way when you think about them that you need to be able to do in order to become an R. So that's kind of what we're doing. As far as my history goes, when I started, we had no clinics. There were no memos. There was no Zoom. We just kind of went along and struggled and watched guys and tried to figure out what worked the best. And right now we're all probably over zoomed. We got NCAA, NILOA, NFHS, USL. I got New York State to go, but it's really been a benefit. And I think we need to have a special thanks for the NCAA with Tommy and NILOA for putting these things together, and with USL. That's really been a plus, because we're able to see these plays now, and everybody's trying to get on the same page so we can manage them well. As far as my presentation, I stole some stuff from different R's and some material. Dave Seidman helped me put some stuff together. Matty P, he and I talked a lot about it. Jimmy Vacco helped me with some computer stuff. And then, of course, Charlie. So today, we're going to hit on a few givens and a few musts for the R. Not trying to teach you how to ref. That's for the Zooms, the special topics. So we'll see some old babies and have some laughs. And with that being said, let's check out the three R's. Okay, Charlie, the first one being committed. And first of all, if you can't do these, if you can't do these three things, there's no sense. You can turn off your computer and go get something to eat and relax, so you won't want to bother being an R. But hopefully, this is the reason we're on it, because we're all 1, 2, and 3 here. But committed. You got to attend the clinics, meetings, calls, the Zooms. You got to be able to receive critiques. Those things are really important, and you really got to be plugged in if you want to be an R, and if you want to be a successful ref. And we hope you have the professional background and drive to be a good ref. Then you need to do those things. If you can't do that, then certainly forget about being an R, and it'll probably set back your refereeing. You got to be considerate, respectful of your peers, superiors, your team, your crew. Got to think about all those things, and you got to be collegial. You got to share responsibility with your partners. You got to be, not over controlling, but you got to be in control. So those three things are important. If you can't do those, probably shouldn't be reffing. And if you do them well, you could be on a road to being an R. I mean, if you do those things, you do them well. That's what's going to happen. Your fellow refs are going to recognize that. Your assigners are going to recognize it, and your name's going to be mentioned to get in a leadership role. So those three things are important, and I kind of stole that idea, I think, from Sidecar and Tambo. You guys 100 years ago probably gave a presentation on the R's, and considering that some of the good R's that we have now, I guess you guys were pretty successful with your presentation. All right, the number one must. We can move it on. Communication skills. I got to stress the importance of effective communication skills.
Hey, Walt. Hey, Walt.
Yes.
Hey, Charlie, are you sharing your screen? Does anybody not see Charlie's screen?
Yeah, I'm sharing it. I can see that the
Yeah, we're
audience
good to
is
go.
like mine. So I have gotten some text messages, but I'm not sure.
I've got it too. It's on mine.
Okay, I can see it. So, okay, thanks. Appreciate it. Sorry, Walt.
Are we good? Are we good to go? All right. Well, communication, it's really important. And I know Tom's got a presentation coming on that later on, but it's probably one of the most, it's the number one must for being an effective R. You got to have pretty good communication skills. And basically speaking, your communication should be the 3 C's: clear, concise, and not condescending. So those things are important. And I'll tell you, reading all the evaluations from the coaches, it's the number one concern that they express on the number chart. Communication wasn't good. The ref wouldn't talk to me, couldn't explain anything. So communication is important along the line. With your crew, especially, in your pregame materials, don't overwork it. You got to have prepared, you got to have your material, your binder, your charts, And it's not the place to teach someone how to ref. So you got to focus on a couple things with your crew, and we know what those are going to be, right? They're going to be your face-off and your crease, and maybe your over and back, and those are the things. So don't kill it, but you got to be pretty good communication with that. With coaches, establish a rapport. You got to be positive. You got to listen. You don't want to listen all game long. You don't want them to run a clinic on you, but you got to be available, and you got to know what to say and how to say it and not say too much. And you don't want to hang out too long with the refs either. You know, my basketball background, I'd be watching the refs before the game. If they're sitting there talking to the other coach, I want to know what's going on. You guys are all set here. You're going to have a few beers afterwards or what? So don't hang around too long. If you want to look at a great article, December 4th, 2020, Referee Magazine, What Not to Say. There's some key points there as what not to say. One of them, not that I want to belabor the communication part, but one would be one more word out of you and you're out of here. You know, or are you serious? Those kind of comments don't get you anywhere. So you got to have the right things. You got to practice it, and I know that Tom's going to be talking about that next week. With your players, you got to let them know you're human. Talking to players every once in a while to the game, during the game is pretty good. You develop a little bit of a rapport. Talking to the face-off guys as they come down, you know. You guys all set? How you doing? All right, we're good here. Everybody good? You're talk to a ref or to a player somewhere else on the field. That's important. And with the table, of course, it's good to go over to the table and see what their questions are and keep them on the same page. Of course, pre-game, usually you meet with the shot clock operator, and that's another whole deal. Okay, that could be another whole session. But it's a challenge. It's a challenge. And, you know, as Matty P told me, you know, he feels it's an art. It takes a lot of practice and it takes a lot of experience. So we're looking at the number 2, make your crew feel comfortable. The whole point of that is you try to get the best out of your crew. You want to make sure that you can have some icebreakers with the crew. You know, as Jake would come in and say, hi guys, how's the wife and kids? You know, just a little something to have an icebreaker to take the edge off. Now, if you're with the guys that you've been reffing with all the time, obviously that's not so critical. But when you're with officials that you have not met before, you got to have a little downtime to break the ice and try to get them to feel comfortable. Important thing is you want to have, oh, by the way, did I tell you guys, we are putting up a test here, and you will be asked questions right after this is over with. So be ready to respond, and your answers your score will be posted. We want to make sure everybody's on the same page. And I want to talk more about that, about game management. You got to recognize individual needs. There are refs that have different needs, and you got to kind of know what they are, and identify those needs and be able to support them. It might be for a lot of different reasons, but understand that each guy coming in has a little different thing that he's bringing in the locker room. And lastly, you got to lighten up. You know, you can't have your crew all wound up. Oh, by the way, there's no test. Did I take the pressure off already? You felt that pretty quick, right? Test, no test. Good, good, good. So everybody's ready to roll, and they're all not wound up. Knowing the rules. Well, credibility hangs with knowing them cold. You got to study rule 4 and 7 by memory. You got to have them committed to memory. That's an important thing. And you got to certainly, our challenge now is going to be knowing those crease rules and knowing those play situations cold. and see them as looping plays. You got about 4 different scenarios there that you can have on that crease play that involve 3 to 4 things. The offensive player with the ball, and you're going to be looking at the guy playing defense. Did he push him? Where did he land? Where's the ball? So you can break those things in so you don't get hung up and with trying to figure out what happened forever. You don't want to take all game long to sort it out. So knowing the rules, B, if you can slide that one down, you got to know the rules. There's no C and D if you blow it. So it's an important point. And again, with your crew, you're not going to teach them how to ref in the pregame, but you got to know the rules when it comes down to it, especially reviewing those major points. All right, the next point here is managing the game. A good R will make sure that everyone on the crew understands that each game is unique and it has its own flow. And it's what separates managing a game. Looking back at some of the refs that I've known and had the pleasure to work with, they're the ones that can really teach you a lot of things. And looking at what was their background. Most of the ones that I know that were top of the game were either a player, they may have done some coaching, they had a parent that was a ref, or they ref other sports, and that gives them an edge. So that's really a big edge. I think of a couple people that I know. Kevin O'Leary. Kevin was a player. He coached high level. His dad was a ref. And by the way, his dad, I had the pleasure of working with Ron O'Leary, and I picked up a few tips from him. He helped me down the road for sure. He was a good ref, and I was lucky to work with him. And he came up from the Baltimore area. We weren't traveling in those days. This happened to be a playoff game, and I was lucky to get on it. And I picked up a few good tips from him and carried them forward. Tommy Abbott. Tommy Abbott is a good player. His dad was in refereeing, and Tom got into refereeing, and so those things give him an edge. And if you had the experience of coaching, that helps you also in managing a game. You have a feel for what's going on. It's pretty good if you can become a coach's ref. So you have a sense of what this thing is all about. Not that you're coming in and you get your game and you move on to the next day and you got your next game. For that coach, you got to understand that it's really important. It eats him up for the rest of the week until he plays again. So what can you do if you don't have that path? I guess you got to listen, you got to watch, and try to pick up stuff along the way. Okay, and then looking at the consistency. Consistency is an important item. 50-50 calls. If you get it early, a 50-50 call at one end, you probably got stuck with it now, and you got to go and make sure you work that 50-50 both ends. Now, it doesn't mean you don't pass on the other end, and we're not making up calls. That's not the idea, but you got to sharpen it up. And don't miss that opportunity to make a call that fits the context of the game. So you got to understand each game can move at different points, and you got to be ready to adjust. And you got to adjust yourself and with your crew as the game changes. They can go from smooth sailing to a storm. Let's take a look at some situations. Little pregame anticipation. Let's see what we got.
Played Yale into overtime and they're going against a great Syracuse team being led by Brian Kronberger. He's an All-America at the midfield position. He scores a lot of goals, but maybe more importantly, Kronberger leads them spiritually. This is footage taken moments ago as they warm up for today's game. Kronberger not backing down 1 inch, going right up against Pat McCabe, and that is the kind of spiritual leadership that Brian Kronberger gives to this Loyola squad, a squad that has
Now, we can move on. I don't know if you got that full screen in there, but okay, that was a pregame. That stuff was going on during the game. And were there any penalties called? No. The refs weren't on the field. At that point, they only had to be on the field 20 minutes. Now the refs have to be there 30. So, but you never know what might have happened before you got out there. But now we're out there ahead of time, so hopefully we have a better handle on it. Once you get to the field, there are a few field tasks. You can switch right on to that, Charlie. These are the basic things that you have to get done, and you can the referee can either take them, and you can also assign your crew to go handle some of the issues as well. So we think we know those. Once we get that done, now that's been taken care of. Let's get the game started. But before while we watch this, what I want you to think of is how many and for how long.
talk about matchups. Again, this control kind of team, a team like Loyola, look at this. You think these teams aren't ready to play? Holy smokes, Loyola's coming in here, not backing down an inch, trying to prove something, at least emotionally, to the great Syracuse team. I'm sure there's a lot of talk down there, Syracuse feeling their oats, and Loyola not backing down.
A wild scene over on the far sideline between the Orange and the Greyhounds. We saw something like this in pregame warm-ups.
I'm going to try to tell you who's in the middle of that down there. Egan was in the middle of it in the pregame warm-ups. Egan was in the middle of this. And it's Carl. No, I can't see if it's Kronberg or not. No, it's not. He's not in the middle of that one.
Johnson for
I'll tell you what,
they're starting defenseman.
I can tell you I can guarantee you that Cottle went over to Kronberg and told him before the game and said, don't get thrown out of the game, buddy. We need you in the game. This is what started it all. Play on the sideline. Look, Loyola wrestles the Syracuse player down, and then for protection, McCabe comes up and levels him, and here comes the Loyola bench to defend their team. This team not getting the respect they really think they deserve, Eric, and that's why their emotions are sky high. They want to prove to the world that they belong in this final game. There's Dave Cottle.
An amazing job in his 8th year at Loyola. Just 34 years of age. His record over the last 3 years, 33-5, and just 7 seniors on this Loyola club.
Well, here's your little meeting now. The officials are going to find out. This could be critical. If you throw a player out of the game, or if there's a major penalty, there could be a major penalty involved here. You certainly wouldn't want to lose a player. And Egan was over there now twice. Of course, the pregame doesn't really count as we look at Roy Simmons Jr. Egan was over there really mixing it up. So it would really be devastating for either team to lose a player because of one of these little fights.
Now, Dave Cottle and Roy Simmons trying to simmer things down. You know, Roy said earlier this week, we are definitely the Goliath of this tournament. I just hope we don't run into any slingshots. Well, they've run into some early slingshots here from the Loyola Greyhounds. We're tied at 1, 11:31 left in the first quarter. This could be a memorable national championship game.
Well, they just haven't played that well against teams that take the air out of the ball, that slow it down, and have a great zone defense. It frustrates them. It puts the bridle on them. It rates them. It holds them back, and they just don't like to do it. They like to run and gun, and when you think about things like the zone, it ends up taking you out of your game. Still talking it over.
And Kevin Beach of Loyola, each 3 minutes, each unreleasable.
And Egan's the guy who really has been mixing it up since the pregame warm-ups. So a good.
Oh, baby. Are we back live? Heck of a spot to be in a national championship game. Try to handle that one. We had a lot of discussion, and we had all kinds of numbers. But with so many people going at it, so many players being involved, I thought that it was best for us to take our time and now make it be something that we could manage. If we put 3 players out on each side, which ones are you going to take? And then they'll be offsides. And this is just the first 2 minutes of the game. It came down to actually taking 2 players for 3 minutes each, and we let them back in, had a conference with both coaches and told them if anyone did it again like this kind of a deal, be the longest walk in their life into the locker room. So, you know, we sort of got, that was a pretty good surprise. And you got to be able to work through the landmine, and you can't be shocked. And that was a big one, trying to figure out what to do. National championship. You know, how far do we take it? What do we do? And that's what we came up with. And after that was over, we tried to refocus quickly as we could, and we had a game to ref. So sometimes you never know what's going to happen, and sometimes it's a deal like the players causing this, but other times you could make a call and mess a call up, and you've got to be able to work and refocus through an error. And I call that having pace. You got to have pace. Performance after critical errors. So those are some important things that an R has to do. He's got to remain composed no matter what's going on. Some things don't change. Maybe we can show a little more up-to-date clip, Charlie, of a high school game that occurred the other day. We have a sideline play and some other action going on. A couple shoves in the back. Some more. Unfortunately, the refs were in there Florida wide, so it took a while to get there. But interestingly enough, that play occurred on a sideline push. And I think Tommy was talking about the sideline pushes. We got to be on those calls. And the Syracuse deal came on the sideline play as well. All right, we move after that. We go to the game is over. We're in our post game. And if there was an observer at the game, I would suggest that everybody just hold tight on changing and getting out of their gear and let the observer go through whatever he wants to do, whether it's asking questions or making comments. And so we just sit tight for a while. And basically the R at that point will, if there was no observer, the R may well go through some good things and some bad things. Everybody has a play probably here and there that they like their call back. So there was a time to talk about it. And from that point, you got to make sure your crew can move forward, have their heads up, and stay positive and move on and keep the most of the talk that was there, keep it in the locker room. And lastly, the R has got to fill out the game report. So those are the basic things that you do post game. All right, trying to bring this to a conclusion here pretty quick. The 5 R's again: communicate, create comfort and confidence with your crew, know the rules, manage the game, and show composure. You do those things, you're setting yourself up for being a solid official and hopefully be a good R. So you got to be ready and handle all those issues and don't get shocked. And that's what leadership's all about. So I really want to thank everybody for attending, and sorry to run this thing long on you, but NILOA and NCAA, we're in need of R's, and it's not easy. It's not for everyone, but we are working hard to try to identify those that can move up and become an R. We have some good Rs right now, but there's room that we need some more support at that level. So hopefully, if you go back and think about a couple of these things, put them into your game and gain the confidence of your fellow refs and your assigner, and you'll find yourself in a spot to be an R. Thanks for attending. Stay safe.
All right, Walt, I do want to thank you for your presentation. Very informative, and I'm sure somebody was able to get something out of that presentation to work on their game. That's for sure. All right, everybody have a good night, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks, everybody.